guys, it's me Anaïs. So I decided that for this tea with Anaïs we would talk about gnomes. Why gnomes? Especially since they've been getting a lot of attention lately. I just kind of put them back there. Oh, sorry. These are my little buddies. This is Leopold and Sebastian. And then I have these new little gnomes. I don't know if they show up right now with how I put it, but anyway, I thought I would just share with you why the heck do I love gnomes. So for this tea time, I'm going to show you how this all kind of developed. Let's go back to the beginning. Picture it, Sicily. No. We're not going to do the Golden Girls. No. So basically what this is red rose tea. You could buy a huge box of it for really cheap, a couple dollars, and there's 100 tea bags in it. And they also come with an adorable little ceramic figurine of whatever, depends on what their advertising campaign is. But I grew up with this tea, and when I was a teenager, I moved out of my parents' house, and I was poor, but I wasn't going to give up on tea, right? So I worked a lot. I worked all the time, and I bought tea. And what I would do is I would have to use the same tea bag more than once. I've gotten really spoiled now. I can use one tea bag per time, but because we're going back to kind of the evolution of gnomes, we're going to have tea the same way that I would when I was a teenager fresh from my parents' house. So what that means is, let's go put some more hot water in this nearly empty cup. Okay, so I'm kind of fudging a little bit, because when I was a teenager, I used my avocado green tea kettle from the 1970s, and obviously I don't know where that went. I must have lost it, but I have my trusty electric tea kettle, so that's what I'm using. Just pretend with me, okay? Pretend that that was an avocado green, ancient kind of relic that had scratches and scrapes all over it. That's that kind of thing. Okay, so let's trace this thing back. So the first kind of supernatural thing that I was into was angels, because I came from a religious home, and you know, you're a kid and you want to have something fantastic, and angels were it. That was pretty much the only kind of fantasy thing that I was exposed to, because it was very conservative, and so I didn't have like gnomes and elves and fairies in my knowledge bank until I was a little older. So then I decided I loved fairies, but it kind of fit the motif where I was raised of, if you see something and it's, you know, beautiful, then it's good, which I didn't like, because in my experience it wasn't necessarily true in any way, shape, or form. So basically the whole modesty thing was very important. So if somebody was modest, like, let's just use myself as an example, because I don't like to use other people when I'm talking about this stuff. So for me, I had to dress very modestly, and that was so that other people would know that I was a good girl, I guess. And if you weren't dressed that way, then you were a bad kid, and then people would just make these automatic kind of assumptions about your worth based on that, which sucks. It's just a sucky way to look at things. And so as I started to break from that ideal, I started kind of moving away from things that were just too pretty, and then I started having these real world kind of weird experiences. Like, I was driving across the US by myself when I was like a teenager, late teenager, which is crazy. Don't recommend doing that. And I had a really crappy car. Of course I did. I was a teenager and I bought this car by myself and I didn't have a lot of money. Broke down. It broke down at a truck stop / gas station. And I was so lucky that it did, because the manager of the gas station was so sweet and she took me home with her. Like, insane. She took me home with her to her family. Who does that? That is so kind and just makes no sense. Somebody that I was a total stranger to her, she took me home. And then truckers that, you know, big grizzly guys, people that I had been taught were not necessarily good people based on the fact that they drank, they smoked cigarettes, they ate meat, they frequented prostitutes, some of them, but they were so sweet because they kept trying to fix my car, and for nothing, because I had nothing. And so what I would do is I'm a musician, so I would sing for them, and I'd play the piano for them and make up songs because I am self-taught, so I kind of had to. And they were so gracious to let me do that as payment for helping me. And then my car just couldn't be fixed. It just wasn't gonna happen. And all of these truckers and this family, they all helped to get me a bus ticket to where I needed to go, which is insane. And I'm so grateful. I wish that I knew who they were so I could thank them now, but yeah, so it kind of started breaking those barriers in my mind of what a good person should look like. And then I was on a bus, a different time, like maybe a year later, and I was having medical problems, and a soldier that I didn't know, like, he was just on the bus too, he took care of me, and he expected nothing, and he was so kind, and it was again kind of this big, you know, kind of tough, grizzly looking dude who I would have been taught to just discount before. And I think he did smoke too, but he helped me and he didn't need to. And so all of these experiences kept building up where I'd meet these people who didn't meet the expectation that I was raised with of what people would look like. And so then I started to question it, and I mean, I didn't look like that at that point. I was totally gothed out, punked out, you know, whatever. I shaved my head, and I definitely didn't look like the vision that I had been raised with either. But so gnomes, look at them, they're grumpy and they're old, and a lot of times they're depicted as being portly, and I like that. I've met a lot of really grumpy, portly, just bushy eyebrowed, mad at the world people who, in their anger at everything that's wrong, try to be as good of people as possible. And really open my mind and make me appreciate humanity that much more, and make me reach out, because it's hard and it's scary to be vulnerable over and over and over, because there's going to be bad things that happen. That's just the way it is, but you have to keep trying. And so gnomes are a representation to me of all of the surface qualities that make people not want to give someone a chance, that are endearing to me, because to me it's like an opportunity to dig further, because it doesn't mean anything. I mean, like the exterior stuff, it just doesn't mean anything. And even the brusqueness on the surface, I've known and been friends with a lot of really negative type, what people would say are negative people, who really impacted me in positive ways despite all the grumpiness, or maybe because of it, because it's almost like a badge of honor and hilarity ensues when you're allowed to just be grumpy and be mad about stupid things and express yourself. So, and a thing about that is that there's this kind of culture now, I don't know if culture is the right word, but there's kind of a movement that says that you should only have positive influences in your life, right? And if somebody's being too negative, get rid of them, get different friends. And I've heard this from religious and secular communities. I've heard this so many times. And what about those people who are branded as being the negative people? Like, how crappy for them, because now you just push them off to the side, and now they have a genuine reason to be mad and be grumpy. And I think it's a terrible message. I think it's terrible to say if somebody is this negative person, just cut them out. I think that you should try first. I think that it shouldn't be so easy to throw someone away. I guess that's the main thing. It shouldn't just be so easy to throw somebody away and to discount all of the good things that they can have because of a surface disagreement. So, I know that's kind of like a weird reason for somebody to be into gnomes, a kind of strange circle, but that's what it is, like symbolism. I think a lot of things are symbolism, tons of things. I love lots of things because of the symbolism behind them, and that's pretty much anything. It's the meaning that you put into it means it makes it how important it is to you, because you care for something. Now it's important to you. So I try to care more and not less, and that's always a challenge. And so you have to have some absurdity in your life, and gnomes serve that function too. Just, you know, you can either be really upset all of the time because there's a lot to be upset about, or you can find something that's so ridiculous that it makes you laugh, and you can even feel grumpy while you're laughing. Anyway, that's pretty much my long-winded response of why I like gnomes. And I'm gonna finish this Anaïs era week tea, and I hope that you have tea too. I'll talk to you next time. Goodbye.